always lived a passion-driven life. It dates back to just my time in high school. And that is what lit that fire in me, because I knew intimately what it felt like to be left out and not have a voice. And I said, you know what, my life now on is to make people feel included, to make people feel like they had a voice. I am currently the Global Inclusion Program Manager for our Diversity Engagement team.
Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about what is going on in the company that is Nike, a company that you guys know for giving Colin Kaepernick a huge Nike deal post him not being in the NFL because he started kneeling for the national anthem, because their trends toward diversity, equity, and inclusion went far beyond that, and it was just ruled by a court that one of their DEI officers needed to pay back $5 million worth of stolen funds that she stole under the guise of having these diversity events. Now, we're going to get into it, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Your support is greatly appreciated. So this headline from the New York Post immediately jumped out to me when I saw it on twitter.com, and it reads as follows. Ex-diversity boss at Facebook Nike who orchestrated fake events to steal $5 million gets 5 years and must pay back the hefty sum. So this woman is called Barbara Furlow-Smiles, and yes, she was in fact recently convicted of taking this money, and she worked at Facebook and at Nike, and it turns out she stole more than $5 million from these mega companies in order to fund her luxury lifestyle. She was sentenced on Monday to 5 years behind bars in order to pay back that hefty sum. Now, I know I led off with Nike as the company, but to be clear, this was in fact theft from Facebook and Nike, and I know a lot of us, based on the politics of those organizations, think, haha, that's kind of funny. You ended up paying this woke diversity officer a huge salary in order to make your company more diverse, in order to throw these very black-centered events, and she ended up churning around on you and stealing your money, pocketing it, in order to live a luxury and lavish lifestyle. And now, of course, she's been convicted of this. She's been sentenced to 5 years for this, and she'll have to pay back these companies to the tune of the $5 million. Now, I'm not exactly sure how she's going to be able to afford to do that, but I'm assuming another company will hire her as a diversity czar. She'll be able to steal from them in order to pay back Nike and Facebook, but we'll see. It's yet to be determined, but let's talk a little bit about her scheme and how she ended up pocketing so much money, again, under the guise of being the diversity officer, under the guise of making sure that Facebook and Nike were even woker than we already know them to be.
And I literally am hired to make sure people have a sense of belonging here. It's so fun because in this space, in this work, it's all about just behavior change. And that takes some time. But when you see people's behavior change because of something that they didn't know, that they now know, that transformed their life, that's the only thing that I need at night.
Furlow-Smiles shamelessly violated her position of trust as a DEI executive at Facebook to steal millions from the company, utilizing a scheme involving fraudulent vendors, fake invoices, and cash kickbacks, attorney Ryan K. Buchanan said in a statement. Quote, after being terminated from Facebook, she brazenly continued the fraud as a DEI leader at Nike, where she stole another six-figure sum from their diversity program. Furlow-Smiles pleaded guilty in December to the wire fraud scheme, which saw her take more than $4.9 million from Facebook before bilking a six-figure amount from Nike, quote, to fund a luxury lifestyle in California, Georgia, and Oregon, the DOJ said. The social media company claimed her crimes resulted in anguish amongst those employees who worked closely with her, end quote. Nike said her complete lack of accountability or remorse was incredibly disappointing, according to the sentencing memos attained by CNBC. Now look, I am glad that this woman got caught. Let's be clear about that. She is in fact a criminal. She has been convicted. She was stealing on a grand scale, and she was doing so in order to fund her luxury lifestyle. And considering she was at a major corporate position in Facebook and at Nike, Nike, she was already getting paid a hefty salary to be there, but she just couldn't help herself. She just couldn't stop stealing. And by the way, she was enabled in order to commit these crimes by the fact that she was a diversity officer, by the fact that questioning her was inherently racist. It was evil white racism, and honestly, it looks really bad for these companies to scrutinize her too much, especially when she's stealing money for fake events involving Juneteenth, which, by the way, was a big component of how she extracted these funds from Facebook. She would set up the fraudulent vendors, the fraudulent service providers, throw a phony event like the Juneteenth event, and all the while she's promoting this black excellence and whatnot ideology, she was pocketing the money so that she could live an excellent lifestyle. From approximately January 2017 to September 2021, the Georgia native led the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion programs at Facebook, also known as DEI, and was responsible for developing and executing DEI initiatives, operation, and engagement programs, prosecutors said. She used her power to access the company credit cards and her power to approve invoices for authorized vendors to pay numerous individuals, including her friends and relatives, for goods and services that in truth were never provided to Facebook. So we've actually seen very similar kinds of scams being run specifically from DEI across this country. There was a very notable Massachusetts school where they hired a DEI officer who was in charge of training and hiring people to be diverse, and it turned out she was just hiring a bunch of different people that she knew personally in order to fulfill these positions. So right here, you have a situation where she's using and abusing the company credit cards to hire her friends and have them perform services that they never actually deliver on, all while expensing it to Facebook. So this was a broad enrichment scheme for the friends and family of this DEI officer. And again, you couldn't question it. You couldn't question the fact that she was going for these unusual vendors and whatnot, and their reputations not being as sound as other options, because in reality, she was seeking out diverse voices in order to provide services to Facebook, because it would just look bad if they used the standard vendors in order to cover the Juneteenth celebration. Again, all of this was under the guise of diversity, equity, inclusion. This was her job, and she was able to use it as her shield for years while she pilfered the company for millions.
That makes me super happy. So really be open to opportunities and know that your mind may change. But won't change is inherently what's inside you, of what you feel like you were destined here to do.
Now, those individuals who she allegedly was paying off included former interns, her former university tutor, a hairstylist, babysitters, and nannies that would later funnel kickbacks to Furlow-Smiles. The associates, many of whom reportedly were unaware the funds were coming from Facebook, would return the money to Furlow-Smiles in cash or via account transfers. The feds noted that the cash was sometimes delivered to Furlow wrapped in t-shirts or other items. Now look, I gotta be perfectly 100% honest. Now the DOJ says that they did an exhaustive investigation and they found the people that were definitely working in concert with her, but they're also saying that a number of these individuals weren't actually involved or didn't actually know that this was a scam being run through Facebook. That being said, when you're doing piles of cash that you're giving to this woman wrapped in t-shirts, I would think that that would raise some alarm bells. When she's saying, hey, I'm going to charge this credit card to you, that money's going to come into your account, make sure you take it out and give it back to me, that's a little bit suspicious. That's a little bit weird. And I find it funny that, of course, she was using this to pay for her hairstylist, she was using this to pay for her babysitters, because like many people who run these scams who end up operating at a high salary in their original position, they never want to expense any of their actual money that they're supposed to be earning for these things, and they eventually steal so much that it becomes obvious. Now, she also misled Facebook into sending money to entities that did not provide kickbacks, including nearly $10,000 to an artist who created specialty portraits and more than $18,000 to an unnamed preschool. I'm presuming that that preschool was for her own children. To cover her tracks, the disgraced DEI officer submitted fake expense reports claiming her associates had performed work for Facebook, such as providing swag, or marketing services. When she was fired from Facebook, Furlow-Smiles carelessly continued her fraudulent schemes at Nike, thinking she was untouchable, said Carrie Fairley, special agent of the FBI Atlanta. As a result, she not only threw away a lucrative career, but will serve time behind bars for her excessive greed. And honestly, that's really one of the craziest aspects of this. She was essentially caught at Facebook. She wasn't criminally charged initially. She was fired from Facebook, but she also held that position at Nike, so she decided that she was going to do the same criminal scams because she would not be denied over at Nike before she was eventually arrested, before she was eventually indicted, because this woman didn't give a damn. And also, Facebook didn't inform Nike, didn't call them, didn't actually explain to them the reason for her firing, because God forbid you would ever disparage a strong black woman, a DEI officer to boot, in that way. That would actually, lead to them being held accountable for their actions. As the senior director of DEI at the athletic apparel company, Furlow-Smiles was responsible for supporting DEI initiatives, developing strategies, and hosting DEI events, and had the primary responsibility to organize the Juneteenth event in New York City. For the celebration, Furlow-Smiles followed the same process that she had at Facebook. She paid her associates with her Nike corporate card that she linked to her PayPal and Venmo accounts in exchange for kickbacks, filing a counterfeit expense report that falsely claimed that the payments were related to the Juneteenth event. In total, Furlow-Smiles bilked more than $4.9 million from Facebook and over $120,000 from Nike, all of which the judge ordered her to pay back to the companies. She was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release, and neither Facebook nor Nike responded to requests for comment. Look, I think there is an overall lesson in this particular story, and it's something that these corporations are going to have to examine post the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020, when they all added a bunch of these completely unnecessary DEI positions to their corporate offices in order to not seem racist. And that is, the perception of sanctity often is a cover for criminality. And the fact of the matter is, DEI, all these woke initiatives are religious initiatives. They're considered sacred to these companies. They're something that they use for their marketing. And under the guise of that, what we often see happening is that people will use that as a shield in order to create all kinds of disasters and sometimes even cover up criminal actions, because when you examine what they're doing, when you point out what's going on, when you ask them to resubmit those forms, what they can always come back and say publicly is you're discriminating against them and you're not serious about DEI. So for Facebook, maybe the $5 million was just a drop in the bucket for them as a company, considering that they get all the positive PR from hiring these DEI boards, hosting these Juneteenth events, even though when you examine these events, what you realize is that you have people hiring their friends, enriching themselves, and stealing from the very people that they're supposed to be serving. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Do you think the sentence is too light? Do you think she'll ever be able to pay this back? Again, let me know. And also, let me know if you think she's going to be able to be hired in the future. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an embezzling scheme under the guise of DEI. Till next time.